This is Channel 4. Now, Alwyn Crawshaw Paints Acrylics.
Hello, I'm doing something different today, and in fact I'm in the local pub, the Blue Bull, and the idea is that I'm going to paint while everything's happening, all the activity, and there's an accordion player there, very Irish, fabulous scene, and I'm going to do it while it happens. Now, this is not very easy, and you've got to sort of hope that people aren't going to get in the way or work around them and paint them while they're there, and but it's an exciting challenge. It really is a challenge. So let's get going. Now, incidentally, I've drawn it. Again, people have moved, and I've had to move around, and I've gradually got these people positioned, hoping, of course, they won't go away in the meantime. But this is the sort of position I've got, and it's just a case of building on it from now. So here we go. And I'm going to paint the people first, and the reason is very simple. While they're there, I can get them. Remember, the bar itself and everything around the bar won't move, but the people can move. So and another thing I must tell you, look, have you noticed? I'm working on brown paper. And as I said earlier in one of the other programs, you can work on brown paper. And so I thought, well, let's try it and see what happens. So I'm just putting in this flesh colour. It could be a little darker, but again, remember, with acrylics, we can darken it up as we want. There's all the hair to go out there. It's just literally a suggestion of what goes in. There's a little boy around there, just poking around the side. We've got lovely dark colours here. And don't be worried when people move, because they often come back to the same position. Just keep working away. And remember, the drawing perhaps is the hardest part, simply because you aren't established. You haven't got it established. In fact, I've rubbed a few people out on this before I got to this point, because some people moved or changed their position, and there's nothing you can do. If you've time to alter things, well, alter it. If you haven't, leave it. There's some light on this jacket's a lovely character there, sitting in the window seat, and in fact, it's a weeny bit. There's a sort of nice light sort of waistcoat on here. We've got a white shirt. Now, remember, you're not worried about getting exactly the right colours. And believe me, you won't, because you've got to move so fast before they move that you're really getting the move on. That's lovely. Look at that curve there. That really is nice. And then that jacket continues down here, and it sort of falls over the leg, comes round there, falls over the leg there. Notice I'm not doing anything special with the brush. I'm just sort of scrubbing and scratching and letting it happen. If you try to do it carefully, you lose some of the character and the atmosphere. The character is movement. Everything is moving and happy and going, and so it's a case of just getting all this feeling. And the feeling, of course, comes from the brush stroke as well. Like when I've talked about brush strokes, you get brush strokes that show the form of trees or clouds or whatever. It's a lovely leg that comes down there. And I've got to look round for where the foot is. The foot is somewhere over there. Now, the accordionist, it's difficult at times because you'll find that obviously he's moving all the time, and everything is sort of moving from the position you've originally drawn him. But you've just got to keep trying, and he keeps coming back into the same position, of course, incidentally, naturally, because they're all the same movement. So you've just got to see the first movement, see where you're painting him, and then work from there. And if he does move and you don't know what happens, nothing you can do, just suggest some colour in there at this stage and come back later. He's got a white shirt through there. In fact, I'm starting to get lost now because he's in a totally different position, and he's not doing the squeeze. Well, he's doing the squeezing, but it's a different position again. Let's get this a little darker in there. Gosh, it's trying is something like this, believe me, but it's exciting and it's worth it. It's always worth it. A challenge, there's nothing like a challenge. And believe me, this is one. Now that's where the squeeze box comes in. I want this red, and I think it's more, it looks very much like a crimson. It's got some sort of blue in it, but I shouldn't really be fussing over the red like this. I should be putting it in and not worrying, because he's moved again, you see, so we want it to be a bit higher. Yeah, that's not far from it. It needs to be a bit darker in places. And the bit that he's playing on, then there's a bit that comes out and down like that. It might need to be a bit, it looks a bit, there's that colour. We'll just put a bit of crimson, of cadmium red in that. Now there's the bar in the way, of course, there, and I can't see, it's somewhere around there. Still looks a bit low, but it's the way it's being played. He's obviously a low player. Anyway, let's put in all these, the actual bellows. I'll darken those up in a little while, and I think we need a little bit of light on the top there, and then he's got the buttons that come down, just the buttons in, and you can just see a couple there. They might be a bit bright, although they do look very bright when you look at it. Now, the people are in, or shall I say, they've been in and out all the time I've been painting, but I've painted them in for the first time. In other words, I've got the people in. I know the background is not going to move, so if these move again, then I'm reasonably happy. And the next stage is to put in the background, and I shall more than likely do this a little, perhaps a little wetter than the people. I don't know, I'll see, so I can get it in. Now, I'm just looking, we've got the window area comes down there, which is quite light. It's naturally, it's got the light of the day coming through. Now that's still reasonably dry, and I think I've got just a little bit wetter. Now, if you go wetter, or if you paint it wetter on brown paper, it's got to wrinkle. But if it does, as I said earlier, don't worry. Now, the background of the bar, I've got to decide two ways of doing it. You can either paint in all the background and leave the bottles there, or paint in the bottles and then paint the background. And it doesn't matter which way you do it. To me, there is no reason to do it one way or the other, and I'm making up my mind. I think I'll paint the bottles first and then paint the background round them. So I want a little smaller brush for this. And remember, there, obviously the bottles are glass, but don't worry about the fact that they're shiny. We can always add colours to them, or highlights to them. once we've got them in, and I'm looking for green bottles at the moment, and there's quite a few up there, so I shall paint in the green ones while I've got the same green on the brush. It's really a case of going over everywhere and just filling in the area. That it could be a bit bluer, and obviously they've got labels. Well, there's, again, you can either leave the label in the bottle or in the brown paper. I'll show you like that. Leave the label, or just simply paint all the way down and then cover it up afterwards. I'm just making a little darker now, not dark enough. I want it darker than that. And gosh, them people are moving. It's amazing how people move. But the great thing is they won't keep still even when they're sitting down. When people are sitting down, they're always twitching. Mind you, I always twitch. But they're always twitching and moving. At the same time they're moving to the music because everybody's stamping their feet. And it really is a sort of... It's some atmosphere to work in. I can't get over it. I'm actually working in it. But it really does. It gets you going. It's great. And as I said at the very beginning, it is a challenge, and it's a challenge to me because, believe me, I'm not used to painting in an atmosphere like this, and it really is nice to do something different. Anything that you do different is a challenge, of course. And now that's all. That might be a weeny bit bright, but it's nice. It's a ceramic vase or something up there. Only suggested, remember, only suggested. That's green. I don't know what it is, but it's a green patch up there. And in fact, the bottom part of that bottle is exactly the right colour. The brown paper will keep that. I want to put these pumps in now over the bar. I'm just looking where they are. I've got one there that comes in. It's amazing. Somebody's just stood right in front. And that's been clear for quite a while, actually. Now, let's just put that one down there. Oh, there's another one here while I'm good. There's one there that I've got before it gets covered up again, and a little bit down there. This is very dark. Another one over here. Something in front of it, I don't know what it is. Another one there. And one there. I think the next stage, I'll leave the back just as it is, and I shall paint this dark of the bar. That's very important, and I'll get everything coming forward. It's all floating at the moment, so I'll get all this coming forward.
I'm sitting at the bar and I'm going to paint this fantastic looking gentleman at the end. Well, actually I'm going to draw it first and then I'm going to paint it. It's essential to get the sort of character of the person. He might sue me at the end and say that doesn't look a bit like me, but still. The hat needs to be a lot bigger than that. And so that needs to come round. That's better. It's a much bigger hat, actually, but as I'm going to put some paint on it, it won't matter too much. The neck comes there. And the collar, it's a nice white collar, so when I'm painting it, as I'll do a watercolour treatment, I shall leave that white paper. You can only paint what you can see, of course. There's a stool there. I'll just give the suggestion of the stool. A leg at the back. So that I can then put the legs disappear underneath the bar. In fact, that one doesn't entirely disappear because it comes back to go under the stool. As I say, it's a job to see the feet underneath because it's quite dark there. In fact, this bar comes more that shape. But you're just giving an impression. Then, of course, there's another stool there, so I can't really see anything else. That comes along there. there's a nice vase of flowers there, which I will give just the impression, because it's the character I really want. With the, and I think I'm almost there. I'll paint it in a minute. Made his nose is rather big, but I'm sure he won't hold that against me. I think I'll put a spot of colour on that, and it'll bring it all together, make it far more interesting. So I need a little cadmium red and a touch, I think, of yellow ochre. I'll try that, and yeah, that's quite a nice colour. Actually, I think I'll have it a little bit paler than that, because he's got nice red cheeks, and so I'll be able to put a slightly redder touch on the cheeks. A little crimson alizarin in that, I think. And a touch on the ear. And when you put the darks in, of course, that's what makes the shape of everything. That's a nice dark colour under there. Ah, Wellingtons. Didn't notice those. Which are almost black, aren't they? So you want a little more yellow in to kill the blue. That's the stool, which I should have left. Whoops. Not very steady hand. I haven't got a very steady hand, especially in this position. So that one goes down there. There's one down there, one across there, and I think there's one in that direction. It's a job to tell, floating around. Just a few suggestions of flowers, and then I'll put the shadows in. Have a touch of green for that. It's broom, actually, so it's just sort of sweeping around in there with a few touches of red. So we want some crimson with a touch of that dirty colour in. Don't want to fiddle around too much, because the character's the main one I'm doing. At this rate, he'll disappear. I'm going to mix some strong shadow colour now, and it'll bring it all together, but I think I'll mix quite a lot of it. Very watercoloury. So again, it's ultramarine blue, touch of crimson, and a touch of yellow ochre. I could really do with a piece of paper to practice on here. Oh, I think that will be a little bit weak. Probably got far too much water there. Now I've got a very strong shadow under the arm there. And it goes over that coat there. Oops. Oh, that's quite good, actually. Very good. Little under the nose and under the chin, of course. Yes, I quite like that. Oh, I nearly forgot to put the Guinness in. No, I think I'll need a little more red in the Guinness, because it's a really strong colour. And that's very important. Can't forget the Guinness. Oh, need a little shadow round the hand. And I'm happy with that, but I think I'll take it over and see what he thinks.
I'm coming to the end of the painting, or the picture, over there, and it doesn't worry me that I'm scrubbing it on. Now, this stool, incidentally, is a bit awkward because it was there, and then this chap sat down, and I know the stool's still there, but it seems as though it's a bit close. But then we'll, as I say, we'll worry about a lot of these things later. That's just a little bit of movement I put in there. I went too deep there because I've got to come onto the floor of the bar. Now, I'm going to bring it further out, and then we've got this gap there. And that's good for design not to do this, because it doesn't separate objects. Now notice what I've done. You see, I've darkened this bottom part of the stool and left that light, and that starts to look okay. So I'm leaving that. I've got to put in the stool there, and that was certainly, let's get a bit of reddy orange in it, a bit more sort of strength of the colour they are. They're highly polished. In fact, we can add a little bit of that in here, just to give a feeling of the polish. You see that? Look at that. The light has just caught it. Perhaps we can put a little bit of light on that while we're working. Oh gosh, he just almost jumped off his stool doing that. Then did the accordionist. There's no stools there. They're on window seats. Now that has got to be dark, or otherwise we won't see it coming away from this background, and we want to show that he's sitting. We don't want him floating. So I'm making sure that we do see the stool. Put on these sort of turn bits up here. And there's another, actually it's moved now anyway, so it's difficult to see. I'm not sure whether one goes that way or down that way. Well, we'll leave it like that because he's in the edge of the picture. It doesn't matter. Gets very dark under there. I'm starting to jig again. My brush is going. It's amazing. It just sort of jigs around. Bring a bit of reflected light under there, and then a bit more under there and there. Yeah, I think we could just take that one down a little bit. That's it. It isn't jumping out as much now. A little dark in there. I've had a look at the picture and we're almost there. I've put one or two highlights on here, on the glasses and bottles and that area and the lights that are under the shelves. This helps to bring that to life a bit more. I've put shadows on the stools and on the feet here, but just suggested, not much, just to anchor them down just that little bit. And I've even left the floor brown paper. So the floor is the original brown paper, and it looks fine, but it's impressionistic, and it's given it, and that I'm happy with. There's no real detail, but just one last thing I want to do, and that is just to put a nice highlight of red on the accordion. I wasn't happy with that in the beginning. That was just, and I just want that to go down there just a little redder still. That's better. That just sets the accordion going and gives it that little sparkle. Anyway, we've had a fabulous day today. We'll see you next time.